Welcome back. I'm your host, Valary Smart. Welcome to What Do You Think? I'm here with my guest, Micah and Favors Tarver. And thank you guys for joining me. Both of these gentlemen, father and son, are they're doing a reality show on VH1 called In His Favor. And I'll have to say that Favors has had a lot of favor in his life, right? We were talking before we went to break about some of the issues he faced in going through the system, the judicial system, and getting custody of your daughters, correct? And I was asking Micah the influence his dad has had in his life as a single father, and him seeing what his father has had to deal with and how it's inspired him to do and be where he is at now, because he's got his own production team. He's you're a junior in college at Cal State Northridge. He has his own restaurant. You have employees. He's the hype man. So he's got a lot going on for a 22-year-old millennial. But again, it doesn't surprise me because he's a millennial. So why don't you, again, tell us how your dad has influenced you?
Yeah, so I mean, just in life or on that particular
Well,
situation?
just you've seen have you seen what your dad has had to
Yeah.
go through with getting custody and just being a single father raising
Yeah,
so many children, and even from a financial standpoint, come to think about it,
right,
it's expensive to raise a kid, just one.
right.
That's in California.
Hello, yeah, coming from Atlanta, right?
Right.
Heck yeah.
Right.
So I just wanted to know, like, what do you think when you see that your father has been able to do all of this and how it has influenced you? Obviously, it's influenced you in a good way because of everything that you are doing. You're an example
Right.
of what your dad has accomplished. But in your own words, I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
But it is
struggled
good.
in it, but still,
I just know I raised one kid, and I'm just like, whew,
Right.
so.
I mean, like, honestly, like seeing like my dad go through all of that, it really just showed me how real God is. Cause like the things that how he was able to still go through all these things by himself. Like, he don't really have like a big support system out here,
Mhm.
and so he had to really go through that like by himself. As far as like, obviously me and my sister were there because like we live out here, but I mean while she was living out here, and just seeing him like stay strong throughout the situation, because it could have been plenty of times where he could have gave up trying to fight for like my sisters and stuff legally, because not only is that training him physically, emotionally, but financially, you know what I'm saying? And you still, while you still trying to fight for them, you still got to provide for them. So I mean, just really like that dog mentality in life, it kind of like seeing that's just like no child want to see their parent really struggle. So as I see him like go through it, and he's like explaining to me like, but he always kept it 100. Like, he always kept it real. It was like, it's a reason why I'm going through this. You know what I'm saying? Like, as a man, you got to take responsibility for your actions. You know what I'm saying? And you just got to man up to the situation.
How does that make you feel about women? You're a young man. You're 22. You have a long way to go.
Yeah.
But how does that make you feel about getting married and having a kid of your own one day? Are you more cautious? Are you scared a little bit? Does it frighten you?
I mean, we ain't scared of nothing. I can't lie like we scared. But on some real though.
No, like for real.
For real, like, it really just makes you pay attention. You know what I mean? Analyze and
know who you're getting involved with.
Right, because like me
But
and
then
my
I guess it doesn't matter though, right? Because you think you know somebody, but you really don't. But go ahead.
No, that's you'd be surprised. That's solid. But if I go into that, then take it off him. Go.
But I'm gonna need you to respond because I'm curious. Like, I just know, like, again, what I saw and experienced with my friends in the judicial system, and him trying to just get some time with his child,
Right.
just so he could be a father.
Right.
It was heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. I was like,
I say this. I want to expound on your thought. You said that you never know who you get with. They can turn to a different
Jekyll
person.
and Hyde.
Let me-
Right,
let me-
right.
Let
They
me,
say
let me-
that.
let me speak for myself. I'm gonna be
Okay.
real with you, right? When I married my wife, we were married for 17 years. She thought she was marrying a Christian man. I was.
Okay.
Took her to church, really taught her about deeper things of Christianity. But I was the one that broke the vow, not her.
Okay.
You did. I was the one that had a mistress on the side for 5 years.
That's a long.
That was that. No, I'm just being
That's
real
a
with you.
long time.
Like, it's gonna be on the show. Like, I have nothing to hide. I
She
talked to
didn't
him
know
about.
about it
I
for
told him my
5
oldest daughter.
years. Good God.
Well, she found out
That'd
about
be
it after
caught
the
you.
third year, but she stayed in it because the other good
Did you
side
say
of
the
me.
third year?
Yeah, she found out. But I'm a good guy overall.
Took a long time.
Provide her,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying, motivate her. This is my point I'm trying to get to, though. I'm not trying to put myself down. I'm just using myself
No. Absolutely. Be
as
real.
to your point,
Mm-hmm.
where everybody, not a single human on this earth, whether it's a pastor or whomever, the president, everybody has a tendency to have some form of, I won't say evilness, but some form of untruth that comes out in them.
Okay.
Everybody. It's just life.
Mm-hmm.
And it just so happened I got married at a young age,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm human, and she had to experience that with me.
Okay.
So I agree. You never, whoever you marry, you got to understand negative going to come out of them at some point in the marriage. Every human
So what
being.
does that mean exactly, though? Okay, so negative comes out, and what, you accept it? Is that what you're?
I'm not saying accept it, but what
You-
I'm saying is, see, in my negative, it was adultery. So women going to have an issue with that. You're going to have an issue with that. Even though you're the host, you're going to still, like, you shouldn't have to cheat. That shit. But
I'll just go cheat back.
well, okay, yeah, some may do that, right? But some women may have a
You
spending.
cheat, I cheat. Let's all cheat. No, go
Right,
ahead.
exactly. But some women may have a spending issue, right? And that affects the home. See, we don't look at all the other things that women may do that may affect the home, and vice versa. My point I'm making is that there's going to be something negative in a relationship, whether you're married or not married, and it just depends on how you deal with it and your response to it.
So do you believe that, did she use the kids then? Because that's another thing. Using the kids or kid to get back at the man, but you're really affecting the child. So you're trying to keep the kid from seeing his father, from being a part of the child's life, and
It depends. This is my experience, and a couple of guys. It depends on the knowledge that the woman has about the man in that child. See, if a woman knows a man ain't that serious about the child, he's more of a hustler. He's so much of a just trying to make money. He don't really care about spending time. She's not going to use the child to get at him.
mm-hmm.
You feel me? She may use herself, get in arguments with him so he can maybe hit her or do something. You know, it just depends on what she knows can trigger him.
Mm-hmm.
And it just so happened the women I dealt with, they know what triggers me is my love for my children. Before I married my wife, she was in his life. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
I had him when I was 20. I had my 24-year-old when I was 18.
Right.
You see?
I read that.
And so they know, oh, wow, he's about his children.
Mm-hmm.
So the women I dealt with used my children to get at me and get back at me in their vindictive way.
Right. Okay.
It just depends on what triggers that man. Like,
And during the break, you said that you brought up something good that I think should be mentioned on the air, which is a man going through this in the judicial system, trying to get custody of his child or be a part of his child's life, joint custody, what have you. He needs to know who he's dealing with.
Right.
So, like you were mentioning, that he should, study her.
right.
Know maybe some of her flaws or faults, or to show the judge. And I think it's important to mention it because a lot of guys don't know, and they're struggling.
Yeah. See, my personality, I am an observer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I mean by that is I pay attention,
Mm-hmm.
right? I don't care how in love I am with you. I don't care. I was married for 17 years, but I paid attention.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? And so when I notice, it could be in the second, third year. If I notice, if I do something to you and you try to get back at me, I go, oh, she has a vindictive personality. Ding, 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 ding. So let me keep records of certain things, because if we ever get a divorce or if we ever break up and we have children, she's gonna get back at me. And how? Maybe through the kids or in some fashion. So I try to tell guys, I just be real with them. I say, listen, you guys, no offense, you're a beautiful host. But women, like men have issues. Women have issues. There's just certain things that come with the gender, being a certain specific gender, right? And being a female gender, women are very creative. You guys, I mean, think about how you have to birth 9 months. You have to be multitask. You have to. So women think ahead of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Women are always thinking about their next move. Why? Because they got children. They got to make sure their kids going to be straight. They got to handle their business. They're already at plan D while you at plan A. And so for me, I had to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I had to live my life like that.
You had to step into that
mindset.
Right, in that mindset, right.
Literally, I would always be ahead of the game. And so when I got down to having to fight custody, I was able to come to my attorney with quite a bit on both of the situations. Because both of my children's mother are very smart. I mean, one of my children's mother is a school counselor.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So she study on how to, with the mind of
right,
of
and so she can manipulate.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so.
And she couldn't manipulate the judge?
And because she tried with certain information that, I won't get into that because this will be played later. But I just say this, overall, I just tell men, when you notice certain signs in a individual, I'm not going to say women because I don't want to be bashing women, in any relationship that you're in, pay attention and move accordingly, especially if you have kids involved. If you move accordingly, it'll balance out the scale when you go to court. Because now you got your paperwork, you got your text, you can screenshot stuff. Because a lot of things, we get a lot of proof in our text message between, like I'm giving an example. A woman may get upset with you in your second, third year dating her and you got a child. She may say, I know you're a good father, but I hate you. You keep that. Because you can show the judge, okay, judge, she said I was a good father 2 years ago. So what's the issue now?
Right.
They look at that, believe it or not.
Do they really? It seems to me like they don't pay attention.
Listen, you're interviewing a guy that has custody of his 5-year-old.
And it's rare.
Right.
Okay. And we both agree that's rare.
This is just facts, right?
Right. Okay.
Right. But what gave me a level playing field was evidence. Being able to show, proof of, I'm a solid dad. Listen, I got teachers to type up that I was going to school parents conference meetings because the mother was saying I didn't. Her response, okay, bet. So I went to the teacher. Teacher, remember, they did an affidavit. Yes, Mr. Tarver was here. So you take that to the judge. I don't care how much he want to favor a female crime. He has to look at the evidence and go, well, dang, what you're saying is not what I'm looking at.
And do you believe that it, because I also feel that it's depends on the type of judge you have. Even though they're not supposed to bring any personal beliefs into their decision and anything of that nature. They're supposed to keep that separate.
Right.
But do you believe that has an influence? Because I saw that it did.
They're human. They're human. I love the judicial system. It's it ain't all.
I bet you do.
It ain't all good, but yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Every human have the tendency to bring in their perspective, their experience. It's just it is what it is. But once again, I still believe that even though you get a judge that's going to be more biased towards female, at the end of the day, with your right attorney, and even with you, if you're defending yourself, at the end of the day, the judge do not want to look as if he's overlooking evidence off of emotions. That's not their job, and they'll look bad in the court because you have other attorneys, people in there looking. So if you present it to them, I noticed that I went through court for about 2 years. I can say over like 28 proceedings between both mothers fighting for custody. That's a lot. I went through a lot.
Oh, my God.
Because then I was going through divorce, and in that divorce, we were fighting over custody.
Right.
So I had a chance to hear other court hearings, other proceedings.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And I noticed even the judges that favored the women, they still at the end of the day, even when the men were defending themselves, they couldn't afford an attorney. When they brought that, some of them guys were like me. They had the evidence. The judge had to, he had to acknowledge it.
I don't know why I didn't see that.
What did your?
I didn't hear that.
When you experienced it, did he have evidence?
Yeah, he did actually. That's
okay,
what
so
I
let me ask
couldn't
you a question.
understand.
Real talk, like seriously. So in the evidence that your friend that you experienced in the court with him, you're telling me you didn't see the judge give some type of recognition to the evidence that he had? Some
Very
acknowledgement.
little. I mean, when I say little, I'm talking maybe 2%. I mean, it was really, really minute. And mind you, in his case, he has about 95% negative going on, where he was imprisoned, like he was put in jail and abuse and all that stuff. So I feel like the judge may have erred on the side of caution.
So guess what? Then it goes back to my point that I'm not off. That at the end of the day, all these judges, emotional or non-emotion, they go by evidence. She had evidence that the judge, he's not really a solid father. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm trying to get to. Like these judges at the end of the day, they have to, because let me tell you, At the end of the day, they have a supervisor. This is what I learned going through the system. My attorney
Okay.
told me. All judges have a supervisor that's going to, and if you look at some of the paperwork, you'll see they'll say supervisor. It's only one judge that's over all the judges in the judicial system,
Okay,
right?
that's good to
And
know.
they're gonna go over that information on certain cases.
I was wondering who judged them. Who judges the judges?
Yeah, they have somebody
and the
over them.
decisions that they make.
Right, they have that.
So when we come back, I don't know if we're going to break right now, but I did want to have you talk about with your show, the VH1 reality show, in his favor, what you hope that single fathers get from the show, and children of single fathers as well. So we'll be right back.